Alrighty then. Let's see if we can't go find the stream. Hopefully it isn't too far away. Hopefully everything is working. Yeah, party audio is working. There's the Twitch ad. That can go away. Oh. Alrighty folks. It shouldn't take too long for us to get started. I'll double check the attendance, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty close to what we're supposed to have. Let's have a look. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16, 18. Okay. We've got 3 missing. Alright. Someone's joined. What do you think? Little Mick joined. Yes, it might be the 2 Aston Martins. It is. Coral and 55 Cent. Once they join, that should be everybody. Good to know. Oh. Hopefully we won't have to wait as long as Pacific Tier 1 last night. Had to wait quite a long time for everyone to get in the lobby. Felt like forever. Had nothing really to talk about during the meantime either. Shove my eyes back in the Discord, see what's going on, eh? Well, KD's added the pair of them. They haven't responded yet. Yeah. If they join, they join. If they don't, they don't. 16 is still quite a healthy field. It would be nice to have 18 though. And there's a ready up signal given by Captain KD. At the turn of the hour, fair play. You're expected to join in at the hour. If you don't, well, too bad. I think it's how it should be run. To prevent us from going 5 to 10 minutes longer than we absolutely need to be. And everyone's readied up though. Alright, there's the timer there. Good. When the time hits 0, I start off my intro, as per normal, and how the spiel goes. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 8 of the America's Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Everingham, your commentator for this event, and for tonight we'll be competing at Losail International Circuit for the Qatar Grand Prix. One of the newest additions to the world of Formula 1, Losail International Circuit was constructed in 2004 and has a long storied history in motorcycle Grand Prix racing. It would take until 2021 for Formula 1 to first make an appearance here, after which the circuit would get a lengthy 10-year contract starting from this year in 2023. This year would also mark its first appearance in an F1 game and mark the first time we're using it for America's Series competition. The circuit measures up at 3.37 miles, consists of 16 corners and only a single DRS zone that leads down the main straightaway into the primary overtaking spot of turn 1. Outside of the first corner, drivers will find it difficult to try and pass here. It's a proper driver's circuit because to be the best here, a driver must push right to the extremities, to the limits of the racetrack. An inch out of line though, and you will be punished. With that in mind, qualifying should hopefully be once again quite competitive. But before we focus on qualifying, there is a little bit of news to go through first from the previous race in Montreal. There were a couple of incident reports, one of which resulted in no further action. The second involved KD and Coral with a collision at the final chicane. The steward's verdict was that KD was at fault and he received a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for the incident. With the penalty applied, KD would move from P7 to P8 in the final results. In the Drivers' Championship, it is Axis who is leading the way, extending his championship lead after taking victory in Montreal. He's on 175 points, followed by Blockman in P2 on 139, so 36 points separating the top two in the Drivers' Championship. KD on screen right now is third on 121, followed by Saucy on 116, and then Jay rounds out the top 5 on 89 points. In the Teams Championship, the duo of Blockman and Rebel remain at the top of the board, Alpine on 219 points, followed by AlphaTauri on 187, then Williams on 151. Rebel Racing are next to 145, with Ferrari rounding out the top 5 on 125. But that's pretty much it in terms of the news. We can now focus on this here short qualifying session. Got KD on the soft compound tyre, thank goodness. Pacific Tier 1, quite a few drivers ran with intermediates on their first laps. Only Smokey is out there on inters right now. Everyone else is on the soft tyre. Got a ride on board then with the Ferrari driver. Give you a tour of this 3.3 mile racetrack. Below for DRS, send it down the main straightaway. Cross the start-finish line to begin the flying lap. Barreling down towards turn 1, reaching a peak speed of 197 miles an hour. Drops it down to 4th gear, short shifts back up to 5th as he heads towards the left-hander of turn 2. Down to 4th gear, back up to 5th again. Keeping it nice and narrow round the right-hander of turn 3, then up towards the 290 rights of turn 4, and then turn 5. Bit of a lift there just to make sure he keeps control of the car as he heads into the hairpin of turn 6. Up towards the right-hand sweeper of turn 7, braking down to 4th gear, getting back on the power, eventually reaching full power as he heads around turn 8, then turn 9, and into this hairpin that is turn 10. Around turn 11, this flat-out right-hander into the signature part of the racetrack. Turns 12, 13, and then turn 14. Very reminiscent to Turkey's turn 8. Now the penultimate corner, turn 15. And then the final right-hand sweeper, turn 16, that completes the flying lap. Back onto the main straightaway. DRS open, up towards the line. He's already deployed all of his battery. KD will set the benchmark at 1 minute 20.485. That is the time for everyone else to try and beat. JBH making his way around the final corner and back onto the main straightaway. We'll get a healthy tow from the Alfa Romeo in front. That is Smokey getting ready for a flying lap. JBH will set a 21.2, 2/10 behind Captain Schmeg in the Haas. Got Flavius in the lobby driving in the Ferrari, acting as a substitute to Mr. Nars. Nico out on track, making his way round the penultimate turn and up towards the final corner. Braking hard down to 4th gear, getting back on the power. Uses a healthy amount of outside curb as he sends it down the main straightaway. The Williams driver will cross the line to set a 20.965. He goes third fastest, just behind Saucy, who was in P2. 1 minute 20.620 is the time he's set. Spaz Squatch getting ready for a flying lap. He's invalidated this attempt, so he's going to have another go. Captain making his way around the penultimate corner, bit sideways there, bit of lag as well. Now around the final turn, running very, very low on battery deployment. He'll open DRS, run out of it, up towards the line. He'll set a 1 minute 21.693. Goes 4/10 slower than JBH in P6. Black Baller out on track. Spad Squatch making his way through the first sector. Up into the hairpin of turn 6. Definitely a potential overtaking spot into that hairpin. It's just really, really difficult to pull off. You don't get much of a run out of turn 5 heading towards turn 6, so you can't sit in the slipstream, try and build up momentum to try and pass. You really have to be committed down the inside to try and make a move there. For the most part, though, in terms of overtaking, we're going to see it on the main straight and into turn 1. Damn near impossible to pass anywhere else. I think that's Black Baller going slowly, letting the AlphaTauri through. Up towards the final corner. Running very low on battery in terms of overall usage as well as the deployment. Spad Squatch will cross the line to set a 21.778, 8th fastest. A little bit behind Captain in P7. Nanda out on track on a set of soft tyres, making his way around turn 10. 4th gear eventually reaches full power. Heads around the long left sweeper of turn 11. Then we chuck it through turn 12 flat out. Whole way round he should be. Yep, holding the accelerator the whole way round. Won't be doing that in the race though. With a race load of fuel in the car as well as worn tyres, there's no way they'll be able to go flat out around all 3 bends. But here in qualifying, they're definitely capable of doing that. Up towards the line for the Haas driver, his teammates P4, Nandas P5 just behind by a 10th and a half. Blockman out on track, apparently purple in the first sector, his teammates gone purple overall. Rebel to the top with a 1 minute 20.312. Beats his rival by a little over a 10th and a half. See what his teammate can do heading into turn 10. Dropping it down to 4th gear. Spent a fair amount of time off the accelerator there. So perhaps he could try and brake a little bit later into that turn 10 hairpin. Spent a couple of tenths just completely off throttle. Ideally, to try and maximize lap time, you want to try and minimize the amount of off throttle time. Minimize the off throttle time that you have over the course of the lap. I have to try and think of the sentence I was trying to say. You want to be on the brakes as little as possible and on the throttle as much as you can. Blockman goes to P3 with a 20.493. Round turn 3 goes Axis, our championship leader. Head around the 2 90-degree bends of turns 4 and 5. Incredibly fast corners. Very rewarding when you get it absolutely spot on. Quite similar to the triple right-handers in the final sector. Around the sweeper, that is turn 7. On the left of turn 8. Open up turn 9 as much as possible into turn 10. On the brakes hard. And as soon as he's off the brake, Axis was straight back on the throttle, almost instantaneously. You could tell from the telemetry. That's what you want to try and do. Get on the brakes hard, do what you need to do in the braking zone, and when you're finished, get on the accelerator as quickly as you can. Try and not leave it too long off throttle. It just leaks time. Around the final corner. Axis is going to run out of battery pretty quickly here. There we go, used all his deployment. The long main straightaway. Up towards the line, it's a 20.377. Just 600 separating him and provisional pole position. After one, Tom out on track. Getting himself ready for a flying lap attempt. Yet to put a lap time on the board. Same story with Black Baller. Just making his way out of pit lane. Saucy on the lap, up by a 10th in the first sector, up towards the second sector split. What does the clock say for Saucy? It says he's up by 1.5 tenths. With that kind of improvement, he can challenge Blockman and KD. Needs to find more time to try and challenge the top 2. One corner remains for the Red Bull driver. Chuck it in from 7th gear. Drop it down to 4th. Modulates the throttle quite a lot there through the final corner. Opens DRS. Runs out of deployment. Up towards the line now. He will set a 1 minute 20.492. It's P4. He's beaten Blockman, but only just by 1,000th of a second. Meanwhile, KD, he's up by a 10th in the first sector. There's his teammate taking the long lap that's used for motorcycle Grand Prix racing and MotoGP. Like I said, this track has got a long storied history in the world of MotoGP. Some people, it's a bit of a fan favourite. I haven't heard many negative words about Qatar in the world of motorcycle racing. Bit different here in Formula One. It's a very difficult to pass racetrack. So the racing, you don't see a lot of side-by-side racing outside of turn 1. It's a lot of follow the leader stuff. Can make the races quite long, quite dull. But the sprints here, I've noticed in both Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1, the sprints, they've been pretty interesting to keep an eye out for. KD crosses the line and takes provisional pole position away from Rebel. He sets a 20.233. Beats the Alpine by just under 800ths of a second. Qatar Smeg crosses the line, does a 20.6. Overtakes Nico, who's on a in-lap. RF1 Tom set a benchmark for himself, 1 minute 21.3. He's P11, just outside of the top 10. Black Baller has bailed on this flying lap attempt, it seems. Staying off the race course, making sure he doesn't impede anybody. Spaz Squatch has invalidated this run. Alright, so we'll keep our eyes on JBH then. Unless Smokey's on a lap. Just might be. Alfa Romeo driver heading around turn 3, up towards turns 4 and 5. Entry speed here, 182 miles an hour. Apex speed of 123. Carrying a lot of speed. Currently up by 2.6 seconds in the first sector. As you can tell from the time he's already set, it's not particularly competitive, a 129.2. His first run, if I'm not mistaken, was done on the intermediate tyre. I can actually double check that. It was done on the intermediate tyre. And that's just a tactic done by drivers to try and save an extra set of soft compound tyres for the rest of the session, or maybe for the sprint, or maybe even for the main race. In both Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1, there's been a proper mix-up when it comes to strategies used in the races. Wouldn't be surprised if America's series was quite similar. Round the final turn, back on to the main straightaway. Smokey will improve, and improve quite considerably. Where will he end up in the order, though? It's going to be a 121.718, P13 for the moment. JBH has invalidated this run, so he'll more than likely go back into pit lane. There's just over 4 minutes left in qualifying, so he'll probably duck back in, put on another set of soft tyres, and go out for one final run. And I don't think he's going to have another crack here because, well, he's low on fuel as well, so he won't be able to do another lap. So he'll come back in right now. There we go. Come into pit lane. Up towards the line here, braking hard, pulls it up nicely. Very nicely, actually. It's pretty spot on. Captain out on track. Spaz Squatch, I think, has just done a run, 21.5. That's where he's his current PB. He's currently P12 on the board. Captain. 3.5 minutes left in this session. Real chance that this might be Captain's final flying lap attempt. So we head into turn 1. 200 miles an hour, dead even, heading into the first corner. Now head into the left-hander at turn 2, 4th gear, modulating the throttle. Eventually reaches full power just before the outside curb. Round turn 4. Nice and tidy from the looks of things. Clock says to the first sector, down by 13 thousandths of a second, so Pretty even to his PB at the moment. If he wants to improve position, he needs to find at least a 10th and a half on this lap. Tidy run out of 7. Through turn 9. Then the hairpin of 10. Down to 4th gear. It's not really a hairpin, of course, with turn 10, but it's the second tightest corner on the racetrack, bar turn 6. It's pretty much a hairpin. A hairpin for Qatar's standards. 2 corners left for the Williams driver. Nice and tidy out of turn 15. 1 corner remains. Drops it down to 4th gear. Gets back on the power. Eventually reaches full throttle. It's a clean lap. Looked very tidy. Is it going to be fast enough to improve position, though? The answer is yes. He improves 2 positions, in fact. 1 minute 21.3 puts him P11, just outside of the top 10. Little Mick beginning a flying lap, currently P9 with a 21.222. Head around turn 2, 5th gear. Williams off the racetrack, that's captain. He's getting out of the way, making sure he doesn't impede anybody. Good alertness there. Round turn 4. Then turn 5. Clock says for the McLaren driver, he is currently up by 68 thousandths of a second. Nanda's making his way through the first sector as well. When, the Haas driver currently P8 with a 21.1. His teammate is about half a second in front with a 20.6. Nanda's responding well. He's found a 10th in the first sector. Now one of our front runners, Saucy, making his way out of turn 2 and around turn 3. Currently P4 with a 20.4. On his final flying lap attempt. Heading up towards the first sector split. The clock says for the Red Bull driver, he's up by 58 thousandths. Rebel making his way through turn 1. KD heading into turn 3. Yellow's out in the middle sector. That's a slow moving Williams doing that. Same in the final sector. So I'm guessing that's Nico getting ready for a flying lap. KD's up by a 10th in the first sector. Rebel, meanwhile, is up by 78 thousandths in the first sector. Heading up towards the middle sector split, Saucy is up by 2.5 tenths as he makes his way around the triple right-handers of turns 12, 13 and 14. Nice. Oh, too wide. Way too wide. Lap is over for Saucy. What about KD? He's up by a 10th in the middle sector. Rebel, he's up by 2.5 tenths to the middle sector. Some big laps being put on the board here. Out of the penultimate corner towards the final turn. Drops it down to 4th gear. Reaches full throttle. Then he sends it down the main straightaway with DRS wide open. KD should improve. Does improve to a 20.0. Is that enough for pole, though? No. He's beaten by Rebel. Anyone else can Blockman challenge. He's up by a 10th and a half. Currently P5. DRS open. Down the main straightaway. Blockman will cross the line to set a 20.269. Third fastest for the Alpine driver. He can't challenge his teammate. Not even on the front row. What about Axis, our championship leader? There's an Alfa Romeo directly in front. He's up by a 10th of a second to the middle sector. To try and take pole, he needs to find another 2 tenths essentially, right here, right now, through the final sector. And he's going to get a mammoth slipstream from that Alfa Romeo in front. Round the final turn. Or maybe not. Smokey gets out of the way. DRS wide open. Axis, will he improve? He does improve, but he misses out by 0.03 of a second. He jumps up to the front row, but it's not enough for pole position. That is reserved for Rebel. The Alpine driver putting it at the top of the totem pole. Qualifying over then here at Qatar. It's Rebel who will start from pole position with a 1 minute 20.053, beating Axis by 0.03 of a second in P2. And then 6 thousandths behind him is KD in third. Again, another ridiculously close qualifying session Not terribly far behind is Blockman in P4, Saucy P5, Captain Schmeg in P6. Then we have Nico 7th, Tom 8th, Mick 9th, Nanda rounds out the top 10. We have JBH P11, followed by Captain in 12, Spaz Squatch P13, then Black Baller, Smokey, and Flavius starting from the back in 16th position. There we go. Another ridiculously close qualifying session at the top of the board. Not much time separating the top three. It's sprint race time here at Losail International Circuit. 10-lap race in front of us. Be curious to see who does what in terms of strategy. For the most part, I imagine drivers will start on the medium compound tyre. But there is some gains to be made if you start on something like the soft compound tyre. The soft tyre is ridiculously fast around here for a solid, I don't know, 3-4 laps. They don't last particularly long. And that's because the tyre wear at this circuit is just frankly ridiculous. This track eats up rubber and it eats fuel like no other racetrack on the schedule. So you need to make sure you've got a plentiful amount of spare fuel in the car. And you need to be ready to make a pit stop at any time where there's a safety car. It's best that you pit. Get those fresh tyres on, because I guarantee you it's going to make a huge difference. In saying that though, it is difficult to bring safety cars out here at Losail. Because the barriers are so far away, the likelihood of you having an accident in one is very, very low. But not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. Shouldn't be long now. Get this whole shebang underway. Drivers just fine-tuning how much fuel they want to have in the car. Ultimately deciding what kind of strategies to go with. Here we go then, folks. All 16 cars lined up ready to run. We have 5 red lights. The sprint is underway. It's a nice start from Axis in P2. It's a nice start from Saucy in P5. Both drivers jumping up the order. It'll be Axis who leads into turn 1. KD almost goes into the back of Rebel there. He was awfully close. Yellows are out. It's a slow moving Williams. It's Nico. He moves down to last position. But out in front, it's Axis leading the way. Rebel directly behind. Having a look down the inside here at turn 4 at all places. Can he make that stick at turn 5? No is the correct answer. KD having a look here at turn 6. Shoves it down the inside. They exit the hairpin and head up towards turn 7. The midfield scrapping as well, trying to get themselves sorted out of the sweeper into the left of turn 8. Then turn 9. Axis maintaining the race lead. Black Ballers in the gravel trap. Around at the back of the field, Spaz Squatch will move on through, take that position away. Some drama further back. Some hardcore battling at the front. Axis trying to hang on. Rebel all over his gearbox as they go through the penultimate corner. Running wide there. That's probably a warning for Rebel. Need to try and keep it within those white lines. It's critical in a race like this where everyone's so competitive. Rebel out of the slipstream will take the lead. So he'll end up leading the very first lap of this sprint race. McLaren of Tom trying to get by Captain around the outside here at turn 1. Gets it done pretty easily there. Blockman, not a great start. He's down in P8. Who's on what tyre? We've got a few on the softs. We've got Tom on the soft, same with Nanda and Nico. So that's a real shame for Nico. He was caught up in something at lap 1, during lap 1, at turn 1. So he's got a bit of fighting to do to make his way up through the field. Thankfully, those soft tyres, they'll provide him with a lot of speed. Try and make up ground right here, right now, but they're going to wear off real quick. Real quick. Yeah, some neato midfield scraps here. Everyone line astern. It'll be very, very difficult to make moves. Blockman closing in, not by enough. See with the position changes here, the field is properly scrambled. Best starter by far and away. Look at JBH. P11 to P5. Kept out of trouble, got a nice start. What an effort from him as Blockman tries to go around the outside. He's recovering after a less than great start. What a nice move that is, round the outside. And that took some cooperation as well from Nanda. So credit to both cars. Being quite professional there at the final corner. DRS is now enabled as it's lap 3 of 10 here in this sprint. Smokey gets by Little Mick. Little Mick tries to fight back down the inside here at turn 2. Gets the job done. Goes back into P11. Yeah, we're going to see this train just work their way through the middle and final sectors. We might see a little bit of action down the main straightaway, I probably imagine. Go back up to our leading group, shall we? Rebel out in front. This man Axis in P2, 7/10 behind. Most critically for Axis, if he wants to try and win this sprint, he needs to stay within 1 second of our race leader. Rebel with 25% battery, Axis with 63. That's a considerable difference. So Axis biding his time just a little bit. He's not too worried about the here and now because he's still within 1 second of Rebel. He's just saving up that battery, ready for the latter stages of this race. KD, it's been an issue with him all season. He's been using that battery. He's within a second. But he's got DRS to try and keep up with the man in P2 who's trying to catch up to the race leader. Round turn 2. Pass further back. Nico getting by Flavius. That's for P13. Not a point scoring position in the sprint. Only the top 10 score points in the sprint race. In which case the last point scorer we have is captain here in the Williams. Currently hovering behind RF1 Tom, who is on the soft compound tyre. JBH losing ground. He's now 1.1 seconds behind Saucy in P4. That is a bit of a problem as Captain Schmeg, well, he introduces a problem to himself. That 3-second time penalty is going to hold him back somewhat. Particularly towards the end of the race, if the field remains as bunched up as it is right now. But I imagine he's going to try and line up a pass at turn 1, maybe even just on the main straightaway. He is right behind JBH and find a way through. I'm going to ride on board with Blockman because I have a feeling Blockman might try and take 2 for 1 here. Sitting in the slipstream, he is closing in on both cars. Darts to the inside, passes the pair of them down the main straightaway and into turn 1. Blockman moves into P5. Meanwhile, in front, Saucy moves through into 3rd position, overtaking the Ferrari of KD. There's Blockman now leading the queue. Got a clear target in front of him. That's the red Ferrari of KD. Has to close in by 6/10 to try and give himself some DRS on the next lap. They'll have a lot of battery to play with though, to try and catch up. Needs to work really hard here through the middle sector. Fortunately, he's just not quite gaining. Gap sitting at about 1.7 seconds. In fact, does he even have enough margin in hand to keep Captain Schmeg at bay as they head onto the main straightaway? Might be a chance for a change in position as JBH is under pressure from Nanda. He's run out of battery. He's got overtake switched on. Running wide is Tom in the background. Onto the main straight. Captain Schmeg close enough? Doesn't look like it. A bit too far behind. Nanda, meanwhile, down the inside heading into turn 1. He gets in front. JBH tries to have a look, but he elects to just back out of it. Let Nanda have the position for now. Black Baller gets by Flavius. We've got Nico in pit lane. Spaz Squatch overtaking Flavius as well. That was for P14. Yeah, Nito, little midfield scrap right here. Out of front, Axis, Rebel. Axis having to use a little bit of that battery. Maybe he feels like Rebel's got a bit more pace than he initially anticipated. So to use a bit of it, 36% is what he's got. Still more than Rebel, who's on 14. It's only a difference of about 20% now. It used to be about 40. So that advantage has been cut in half for Axis. Having to work quite hard, or at least harder than he anticipated. Trying to keep up with Rebel and try and put up some sort of attack. The leaders will cross the line to begin lap 7 of 10 here at Qatar. We've got 4 to go. Plenty of laps to try and set up some sort of move as Spaz Squatch gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Captain gets by JBH. JBH tries to fight back around the outside at turn 1. Gives himself the inside line at turn 2. And as a result, Captain backs off and slots back in behind the Mercedes. Towards turn 4, no one going for any sort of move here. Drivers are just line astern. The captain has a fuel problem, you can tell on the telemetry. Running low. That might be a minus 0.1. That is a bit of a problem for captain. That fuel load is going to continue to drop a fair chunk. So I wouldn't be surprised that captain runs out of fuel with a few corners to go. Of course, there's a chance for a virtual safety car or even a proper safety car, but that likelihood is going to go out the window in about 30 seconds time. KD closing in. Not by enough. JBH now with a time penalty next to his name. And low on battery. Both drivers running quite low on battery. Axis closing in. He looks far more threatening. He's going for it. Down the inside at turn 1. Rebel left him plenty of room. So Axis takes the lead with 3 to go. Maybe this is an opportunity for Rebel. If he's got good car speed, he can try and sit in behind Axis and try and plan a counter-attack. Or he can do that. He can go and shoot himself in the foot. 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Well, there goes the race win out the window. Unless Axis makes the same mistake, then this battle is already sorted. Keep our eyes at the battle for third then. Saucy hanging on to that third place. KD in hot pursuit. 6 tenths behind. Go around turns 12, 13 and 14 here. Getting a flat through 13, but here at 14, big lift down to 6th gear. Just making sure that front end turned in. 6th gear through turn 15. And around the final corner. DRS open, we'll close the gap. Rebel's doing that. Ultimately meaningless so. Rebel retakes the lead on lap 9 of 10. Ooh, hello. Captain Schmag moving through on Blockman. It's going to go down to Tom and JBH, but there was an overtake happening further in front of them. So Captain Schmag moves into P5. Similar to Rebel, it's a bit of a meaningless overtake, considering he's got a time penalty. Of course, it becomes meaningful if Blockman makes a mistake, gets a penalty himself. That way they're fighting for track position. But of course, Blockman will know this, and he's not going to make a mistake and run the car wide. Hopefully. Hopefully I didn't jinx him. Yeah, for Axis right here, right now, all he needs to do is follow Rebel. Doesn't need to do anything silly. Just keep the car within the white lines. Drive nice and tidy. Remain focused though. Something I've seen a lot of drivers do is Smokey gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. When they start to let off the gas, they lose focus. You need to try and keep that focus going. Tell yourself back off, but you've got to keep looking at every apex. You've got to know when you need to get on the brakes, when you need to get back on the throttle. Got to maintain that focus all the time. This Blockman retakes 5th position with the help of DRS. Tom going for a move here on Captain. Moves through into P8. Well, this could have been much more entertaining finish between these two, but I'm afraid it's already sorted. Black Baller, 3-second time penalty. A little moment there from Rebel out of turn 6. Head around the left-hander of turn 8 and the right of 9 into the left of turn 10 now. Leaders have well and truly pulled clear of the field in a class of their own out there. And only one driver can win. Although Rebel has put himself in a very solid position to try and cross the line first, he ultimately won't. Yellow flag's out, and that's a slow moving Captain. He's run out of fuel, I'm guessing. Down the main straightaway up towards the line. Rebel will cross the line in first. He won't stay there. It'll be Axis who wins the sprint race here at Qatar. Saucy home in third, completing the podium places. KD fourth. Blockman finishes in the top 5. Nanda P6. Captain Schmeg in 7th. He'll be happy with that. Then we have the 2 McLarens of Tom and Mick. JBH rounds out the top 10. There we go. Out of fuel is Captain. He crosses the line in P11. We have Smokey, Black Baller, and Spazquatch. They were glitching in each other at that point. Flavius crosses the line in 15th position, and then it'll be Nico, our final finisher, making his way through the final sector. There you go. Axis will extend his championship lead with this sprint race victory. His nearest rival, Blockman, finishing down in P5. It's a healthy little 5-point swing for the AlphaTauri driver in his favour. It will increase his championship lead to 41 points. Driver of the day, who gets it? Rebel. There you go. So then, the unofficial results of the sprint race here at Qatar. Axis is your race winner by a margin of 2.7 seconds to Rebel. He crossed the line in first. He didn't stay there though, thanks to the time penalty. Saucy completes the podium places in third. KD 4th, followed by Blockman in 5th. Nanda jumping up from P10 to P6 in the final results. Captain Schmeg 7th, followed by Tom in 8th. Mick 9th. JBH rounds out the top 10. Then you have Captain Smokey, Black Baller, Spazquatch, Flavius, and Nico. A poor race for him. He'll be starting from the back for the main event here at Qatar. Alright. Big race time. And it is big. 29 laps to be done here. I tell you, it's a long race. See a lot of follow the leader kind of stuff. Occasional battles here and there. But for the most part, this race is all about strategy and penalty management. Those are the 2 big keys. Safety car chance incredibly low. So you need to think of a strategy and probably best to stick to it as best you can. 2-stop seems to be the primary way to go. You can try and one-stop it, but it's risky. Because of the incredible level of tyre wear here at the racetrack, the chances for punctures are also incredibly high. And it actually affected someone in Pacific Tier 1. Affected the race result fairly significantly. So you can run the risk, do a one-stopper, and it may work. It gives you a lot of track position. But if you get a puncture, it is game over. And the really terrible thing about punctures, there's very little you can do about them. It's not about driving style, it's not about setup, it's RNG. And nobody likes RNG. Because it means that once a car reaches 70%, it can get an instantaneous puncture. Alternatively, you can drive the cars to 100% tyre wear, and it remains inflated somehow, even though you're quite literally driving on the carcass of a tyre. So that's RNG for you. It can work in your favour, it can work against you. It's just a big gamble. But if you want to safely make it, the two-stop is the way to go. Shouldn't be far away now. Also, you better make sure you have a lot of fuel in the car. Like 3 laps extra fuel. You don't want to run out. Not like Captain did in the sprint. It hurts you, and it hurts you real bad. It affected someone in Pacific Elite quite badly. So you got to make sure you got a lot of extra fuel in the car. Here we go then, folks. For the second time, we have 5 red lights. And the main race is underway. It's a nice start from Axis and Rebel on the front row. Saucy occupying third place. Can't find a way to improve position. Tom having a look on KD. He's loose and forces Blockman wide. Tom tries to move through and does move through into 5th position. Blockman moves down to P6 as we go around turn 3. Midfield trying to sort themselves out. Captain Schmeg under a bit of pressure from JBH. Thankfully for him, it's tough to make moves. Not that Saucy knows it. He's side by side with Rebel. He's going for it. Trying for a move around the outside. It's going to be difficult to pull off. Understandably, he backs off and lets Rebel keep the position. It's Axis who leads. Rebel in P2. Saucy in 3rd. KD in 4th. Tom completes the top 5. Then we have Blockman, Captain Schmeg, JBH, Nanda and Captain. That is the top 10. Further back, some action here. Black Baller, Smokey, Nico battling through turn 12, turn 13, then turn 14. A few skirmishes up and down the order, but at the front of the field, a very clean start for Axis. 8 tenths in hand already. It's on the medium compound tyre, and look at that. Just like Pacific Tier 1 and Pacific Elite, proper mix-up when it comes to tyre strategy. As Saucy's trying to have a look down the inside at 1, he has to try and look around the outside at turn 2 to try and move in front. Unfortunately, that Alpine is just a little bit too fast. Rebel hangs on to P2. He's on the hard compound tyre as well, Rebel. So he won't have the outright pace straight away, but he'll do himself a massive favour if he can stay within that 1 second range. Saucy hovering behind KD in 4th place on the hard tyre. He's looking a bit sluggish. He's got 1 second between himself and P3. He needs to try and stay within that 1 second range if he can. Tom, it explains how aggressive he was at the start. He's on the soft tyre, utilising, harnessing the grip of those tyres. There's a possible race strategy. That's completely wrong. There's no way you can do a soft medium here. Absolutely no way, no how. It's either 2-stop or really awkward 1-stop. It's either or. Round turn 14, Blockman hovering behind the McLaren. Can he find a way through? Might need to use a whole heap of battery to try and get past the McLaren down the main straight. Using it. Sitting in the slipstream, switches it off. Look at that McLaren go! Pulling away ever so slightly from Blockman. Saucy moves through into P2. Passing Rebel. Understandable, seeing as Rebel's on the hard tyre right here, right now. KD got Tom directly behind. Tom won't be able to find a way through here in the middle sector unless he's really game and bombs it here. He doesn't dive bomb it. Thank goodness. Oh, but KD makes a mistake. A big slide out of turn 8. Tom just gets that little bit closer. Rebel disappears a little bit further into the distance. Big understeer there for KD. Look at Tom, he is right on his gearbox. Pulls away through turn 11. Showcasing the difference in sheer grip. Tom closing in, even with dirty air. A few more drivers on the mediums. We've got Captain Schmeg, got JBH on mediums. Spaz Squatch in 11th on the medium compound tyre. Same with Nico, Black Baller and Flavius. Change for the race lead. Saucy moves through. RF1 Tom moves through into 4th. Blockman moves into 5th. Had a little look down the inside, but understandably with the grip of those soft tyres, Tom was just able to hang it around the outside, maintain 4th place. Now he has the task of trying to close in that near 2-second gap to Rebel in front. But I imagine even after 3 laps, those tyres probably aren't feeling particularly great. Not as good as they did on the first 3 laps, that's for sure. Saucy out in front. He has used a bit of his battery to do it though. 43% compared to Axis with 95. And then we've got Rebel on 57. So Saucy spending up those resources to try and get to the front. He's now got there, what does he do? Try and hold it for as long as he can. Try and bolt off into the distance. I doubt he'll be able to do the latter, if I'm honest. Axis and Rebel have demonstrated a lot of pace. Saucy's going to have a hard time breaking out of that 1-second range. On top of that, look at the battery life difference. If Saucy turns on the afterburners to try and pull away, Axis can turn on his and he can turn them on for longer. But he doesn't need to. He's got outright pace to try and keep up with Saucy as Blockman moves through down the inside of turn 1. Tom forced a tad bit wide. Wasn't a warning though. Kept 2 tyres on the correct side of the white line. Gap now 2.9 seconds between Blockman and his teammate Rebel. So that gap is continuing to stretch out, which is a bit of an issue for anyone in the midfield who wants to try and have a crack at a podium finish. Ultimately though, with everyone on different strategies, we might see some drivers vault up quite a lot, and some of the leaders might drop back quite considerably. It all depends on strategy though. And of course, the great reset button, a safety car. Chances are low, not impossible. Round turn 14. Captain Schmeg directly behind KD. And depending on how much straight line speed these 2 cars have, Captain Schmeg might be able to try and set up something. Onto the main straight, dumping the battery. DRS open. Here's that Ferrari, still pretty quick. Oh, look at that thing go! JBH down the inside at 1. Oh, ho, ho. There was not much separating KD. Oh, contact! JBH hits... Oh, sorry. Captain Schmeg hits JBH in the rear. Yellow's out. It's smoking. Off in the gravel trap. He rejoins. Oh, sideways. He gets going again. But Captain Schmeg getting into the back of JBH there, unsettling the Mercedes. Thankfully, nothing major came from it. Oof. No front wing damage either for the Haas. Yeah, JBH almost had his front wing clipped off by the Ferrari of KD. They were awfully close to one another. Thankfully, nothing major came from it though. back towards the leaders, shall we? 86%, 35%. KD, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Considering where he is on the minimap, I'm guessing he's done that at the penultimate corner, turn 15. Lap 7 now of 29 here at Qatar. The gap at the front is 0.4 of a second. Rebel just 0.7 behind, and 3 seconds back is his teammate Blockman as JBH gets by KD. KD gets a nose alongside. Doesn't have the dominant position. Captain Schmeg around at turn 1. Drops down to P14. Thanks for that spin. Not sure if he was helped in any way or if he did it by himself. He's now down in 14th place, a fair way behind Black Baller, 3 seconds to be exact. A little moment there from Nanda. Looks of things. This is the midfield train. We've got JBH, KD, Nanda, Captain, Spaz Squatch, Nico. P6 all the way down to P11. Just in front of them is Tom and Blockman. Tom's tyres doing well. 6 laps old. They definitely seen better day. What's the graining looking like? No, honestly, they don't look too bad. We'll get a better idea when he makes his pit stop. Oh. I know, Tom, it's best to follow Blockman, but not like that. Both drivers getting 3 seconds time penalties at the exact same spot. I think Little Mick just did it as well. So the 2 teammates giving themselves 3-second time penalties for the exact same mistake as Rebel goes round the outside of Axis at turn 1. He gets in front and moves into P2. Nanda JBH side by side through the opening corner. It's very tight, but Nanda moves through. So KD up to 6th, Nanda up to 7th, JBH down to 8th. It's definitely not over. That Mercedes has got ludicrous straight line speed. Is it secretly a Williams, I wonder? Because it is fast. Down the straights. Very, very fast. Back towards our leading trio. 1 second separating the group from nose to tail. So he's maintaining the lead, doing a good job, and he's actually recovered a little bit of battery, hovering at the 40% range now. Continuing to stay out. Captain Schmeg, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Rebel closing in by a fair chunk. Just not by enough to attack the race leader. Stay behind. One Tom sticking behind Blockman. And this train of cars now being led by KD. No one quite close enough to do anything just yet. Down towards the turn 6 hairpin. 3/10 separating these two, and Axis is losing time. He's now 1 second behind. That's a critical little storyline to keep an eye out for. He's conserved that battery as if his life depended on it. He briefly reached a full charge. That's how much he's been conserving that battery. Look at that, 100%. After 9 laps, he's now starting to use a little bit of it, just to close the gap back up to the top 2. A lot of disciplined driving being demonstrated by Axis here. Just keeping a cool head, using the battery where he needs to use it. And just like that, he's 0.8 behind, which is more than close enough to get some DRS assistance down the main straight. Tom pits in to get off those soft tyres, and Rebel is going to have a crack for the race lead. Gets it quite easily. Saucy unable to counter-attack, has a little look down the inside, but ultimately Rebel in the dominant position maintains his position at the front. Axis just hovering behind, being patient. There's KD. Nico Now 2 seconds behind. JBH moving on to a set of hard tyres. Tom moving on to a set of mediums. Suggests to me that the McLaren driver probably attempting a 2-stop, I imagine. Black ball, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. They're continuing to stack up. Axis 1.1 behind. They use some of that battery though right here. That gap will shrink. Round turn 12. Turn 13. Turn 14. Has to use a bit more battery now. Oh, big old slide as he applies the battery a little bit too soon. Unfortunately for Axis, he's been a bit too conservative. He's got no DRS assistance down this main straight. But it's not panic stations just yet. He hasn't turned on his battery. Meanwhile, Saucy will retake the lead into turn 1. Rebel moves down to P2. So Nito, little exchange at the front. Axis just losing out. Now 1.4 behind. Here's Blockman. 4th position. Flavius a time penalty. KD. Nanda. Nico. Captain. Spazquatch and Black Baller. That's the top 10. Little Mick directly behind him. Round turn 4. Up towards turn 5. And down into the hairpin at turn 6. Not close enough to set up a move just yet. Nanda keeping KD company. Rebel keeping the race leader company. As Axis, he's had to use that battery. Now down to 41%. He's back within DRS range. Only just so. Needs to use a little bit here just to secure it. He doesn't use the battery. He might not get DRS. As Rebel peels in. I don't think he will get DRS. Let's find out. No, nothing. Saucy will though. Captain Schmeg, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Medium tyres at the ready. Up go the jacks, on go the tyres. Away he leaves. Black Baller coming in as well. Let's stay on board just to see how the tyres look. And the car comes to a stop. And slight graining. But you wouldn't think they're absolutely shredded. Tom setting new fastest lap, 24 point. Wait, what was it? Didn't quite. 24.1. Now Tom keeping Rebel company. So that 2-lap undercut worked out a little treat for Tom. He's got company again and he gives himself an opportunity to get some much needed DRS during this middle stint of the race. It needs to stay within that 1 second range and Rebel's currently bolting. The gap now sits at 9/10 of a second between these two. KD, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as Axis pits in. Blockman follows suit. 50 miles an hour, pulls it up quite easily. Blockman, yep, very nice. Nico coming in as well. Hard tyres bolted on for Axis. Blockman coming in. Or rather coming out with a set of mediums. Nico's set of hard tyres. Captain Schmeg, set of hards as well. So a whole flurry of pit stops on lap 13, the beginning of lap 13. Saucy maintaining that race lead. Done 13 laps on those tyres. He goes through turn 10. Not a bad engine note, the Red Bull. Round turn 12. Clobbering over the curves. Rebel gets by Little Mick, who's off the track. Puncture? Has to be. Is it? No? Why is Mick off the circuit then? He's completely off track. I wonder. He rejoins. Because in Pacific Tier 1, a driver by the name of Potsy had this issue where the screen was randomly flashing white. And he couldn't see where he's going. We'll see what Mick does. He comes in. Maybe the flashing white thing isn't just like a TV glitch, it might be a game glitch. See what Mick does. He gives himself a 5-second penalty is what he does initially. And he retires, yeah. So I'm guessing Little Mick might have had the same issue that Potsy had last night. Either that or, you know, something else is going on. Because yeah, that happened to Potsy where his screen is randomly flashing light, and it's completely blinding. You can't see a thing, but it will do it periodically. And he drove in almost the exact same fashion as Little Mick did there, and he retired on the lap that had happened, just like Little Mick. So perhaps it happened to him. So that would be my astute guess. Because it's very similar. In which case then, what the hell is that game glitch? If that is actually what it was, what is that game glitch? Captain make 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as both Nanda and Spazquatch move into pit lane. See here, Nanda will move on to a set of mediums. Spazquatch set of hard tyres. Look at this train. We got Tom, Saucy, Blockman, Axis, all line astern, all on different strategies, converging together to battle it out on track. All to the merry news of Rebel, out in front with a decent margin in hand. Minor ride on board with Tom. This is what he's seeing in his rear view mirrors. Saucy looking, can't commit though. Corner's too quick to try and dive bomb down the inside. Round turn 8. Then 9. Into 10. Tidy run through the mid-sector there. Saucy closing in. Tom responding with a bit of battery use himself. Round turn 12. Turn 13. Turn 14. Around the penultimate corner. Get rid of that just briefly, just to improve the viewing space. What happens here? Down the main straight. 6th gear. Up into 7. Saucy closes in with DRS. Blockman does the same. Might try and take 2 for 1 here at turn 1. Not quite close enough to Saucy to do that. Oh, as Nanda's left the session. Oh dear. Hopefully he can find his way back in. Here comes Axis on RF1 Tom. Down the inside here at turn 4. Tom keeping the fight alive around the outside. But ultimately just doesn't have the track position to do that. But in his efforts to try and pass, Axis gives himself a 3-second time penalty. That could be huge in the context of this race. Especially considering the two guys he's been battling with, Rebel and Saucy, they're yet to get a penalty. Keyword is yet. We've still got a long way to go. Nanda has indeed rejoined the session. Alright, what happens now between this lot? Saw what happened when Tom was leading this group. He got absolutely mugged down the main straight. I think Axis is too far behind to do anything, but Blockman can set up a pass. There's very, very little that Saucy can do about it. Running low on battery too, only 9%. So Blockman moves into P2. It's an Alpine 1-2 here at Qatar. He's still got a long way to go. KD moves by JBH with the power of DRS and with no power in his battery supply. Moves through into P6. JBH 7th. Still got that overtake switched on though. Needs to be careful. Having overtake on in the corners, it can hurt you somewhat. 3/10 behind Blockman is Saucy. All he can do is follow through this middle sector. Ideally for Saucy, he needs Blockman to get a move on and try and build up a gap to Axis and P4. It's probably the most ideal situation Saucy finds himself in, because those hard tyres right here, right now, won't have the pace to battle mediums for the most part. Although I could be eating my own words here, Saucy is close. Saucy is real close. Those tyres doing the business. I thought Blockman would have been able to pull away. The answer is a hard no. Saucy's going to retake second here. There we go. Those tyres are not as bad as I thought they might be. They got decent pace. They got properly decent pace. Now Saucy, he's probably going to try and fight from here to the end of the race. Try and stay out on those hard compound tyres. And I imagine Axis is going to try and do the same. I'll be incredibly curious to see what the Alpines do, because Rebel has track position right now of 5.2 seconds. He could try and stretch it, but the fact of the matter is they're going to be... the likelihood is they're going to puncture. Okay, you can roll the dice though. It's a big roll of the dice, but it could really work out in your favour. In which case, the best hope for him winning is Blockman battling Saucy and Axis as much as possible, ultimately holding them back from getting out Rebel. But then again, he's got his own race, his own strategy to worry about. He's on the same strategy as Rebel, but he's on slightly fresher medium tyres. Going to get back in front here. He's going to take P2 away from the Red Bull driver. He's in front well before turn 1. Nico under pressure, under attack from Nanda, who moves through into P8. 1 second separates him and JBH in 7th position. Blockman, Saucy, Axis. 5.1 seconds ahead of them is Rebel, our race leader. Smokey pits his final stop of the Grand Prix. Round turn 9, up towards turn 10. And the 4th gear, back on the power. Eventually reaches full throttle. Gap has increased slightly to 0.6 of a second. Become crunch time for Rebel. When does he pit? Ideally, if he wants the 2-stop, the earlier he does it, the better. Of course, if Blockman can put up, you know, this great wall, this great defensive effort, then maybe Rebel can stretch it a bit longer. But ultimately, Rebel needs to come to a decision soon and stick with it. JBH coming in, he can't do any more on those tyres, so he's in. Set of mediums more than likely, ready for him. No, a set of softs. So he's going all out in this final stint. He's low on fuel too. You can tell from the yellow fuel icon, that's something I should pay attention to. Flavius is low on fuel. Rebels, good. Oh, hello. Minus 0.4, that is a problem for Blockman. That is a big problem. That fuel won't come back unless there's a safety car. See, Saucy's in the good. Turn off the telemetry, see if I can't read their steering wheel, okay? 0.88 over, 1.4 over, 0.4 over for Tom, 1 lap over for KD, 0.43. Nanda might be a little bit tight. I can't quite read the Williams ones. But Captain's good, he's got 1.5, I can read that. Super small on the MFD. 1.04, 1.55. There's Rebel pits, so there we go. Rebel's made the call himself. He's committing to a 2-stop. It's the safest option. The Blockman, he's in trouble with fuel. He is in big trouble. Top 3. 0.87, 0.88. 1.4 Axis will have more than enough. What about Rebel's fuel? 2.4, he has well enough. More than enough fuel in the car. Now he has a job to do. A big job. Try and carve his way through this field. Catch up to that leading trio. His teammates on the back foot, and there's not much he can do other than pray. Rebel's first target is Captain, the Williams driver. Not much of a defence there, not that Captain could really do anything about it. Round turn 13. Turn 14, look at the grip difference. Longman pits, Tom pits. Saucy and Axis staying out, understandable. Nico pits. Staying on the battery. Sending it down the main straightaway with DRS open. Top 3 we're reaching here, 193 miles an hour. Down to 5th gear. Next target will be Nanda in the Haas. 4.1 seconds ahead of him is KD in 3rd. Some interesting storylines developing. It's left in wonder how the hell are they going to sort themselves out. Who's made the right calls, who made the wrong calls. Smokey and JBH giving themselves time penalties. They're going to play a big factor in the final stages of this race, seeing who finishes where. Especially if there's a safety car at some point. Top 2. Ooh. Heading towards pit lane entry, but neither of them pitting. 9/10 is the gap. Solid 20-odd% difference in terms of battery as well between the two cars. They'll cross the line to begin lap 23 of 29. Captain's in. Get off these mediums, put on some softs, go to the end. Oh, yep, pull it up. Rebel setting fastest laps out there. Closing the gap down to KD, who's only 2.5 seconds ahead. Meanwhile, side-by-side action. Black Baller getting by. Moving through into 7th place. Captain Schmeg has a look down the inside as well here at turn 1. Side-by-side at the exit of 1. Heading into turn 2. Schmeg looking around the outside, but can't get the job done. So Black Baller moves up into P7. Spazquatch moves down to P8. Schmeg maintains 9th position. Rebel 1.1 seconds behind KD. The gap continuing to shrink corner by corner. Very little KD can do about it. Will he try and stay out on those mediums? Will he bail and pit? What will he do? The leaders are soldiering on with the tyres they have. Nanda gets a time penalty. KD stays out. Rebel will get some DRS assistance here, and he will move through into third. There's nothing KD can do about it. Rebel up to P3. This is the margin. 8.8 seconds with 5 laps to go. Blockman new fastest lap, but he's got fuel issues. Going to affect him quite a lot. Now 0.2 under. Tom gets by Schmeg. Spazquatch gets by Black Baller. Tom gets by Baller as well. Tom gets by Spazquatch. Round the outside here at turn 2. 3 overtakes in the span of 1 corner. Tom moves up into 7th and Black Baller gets a time penalty. Gap's now 7.2 seconds. The gap is continuing to decrease. But it's a big old gap. Got a lot of hard work to do to try and shrink it. One thing he's probably thankful for is that one of them does have a time penalty. Saucy has kept it penalty free so far. Crosses the line now, begins lap 25 of 29. Rebel has cut the gap down to 6.5 seconds. He's running low on battery though, doesn't have a lot left in supply. Needs to use what he can gather intelligently. Try and maximise the speed of this flying Alpine. Axis holding firm in 2nd position. Chances for a race win are relatively low. Captain Schmeg, Black Baller battling for 9th and 10th place. Nico getting by JBH. JBH trying to fight back down the inside. Can't do much. Oh, Black Baller off the racetrack. A mistake there. Not a puncture, it's just a mistake. Here are your leaders. Out in front. Managing at the moment. That's what they're doing. Trying to manage those tyres. Manage what they have. Come around the final corner and back onto the main straightaway. The gap has been cut down to 4.7 seconds. The race leader will cross the line to begin lap 26. We've got 4 to go here at Qatar. Captain applying pressure to JBH. Nico just in front. Oh, big lift there for Captain. JBH unable to carry a hell of a lot of speed through turn 14. Williams is close. A lot of speed. JBH doesn't have a lot of fuel. He's minus 0.4. That is the problem for JBH. As he closes in on Nico to the inside. He'll take P10. 2 Williams are now side by side heading around turn 2. Nico hangs on to 11th, Captain 12th, Black Baller in the pit lane. Blockman now on the back of Nanda. This is for 5th position. You can hear the big lift there. Blockman desperately trying to save fuel. Here's what it looks like. 0.17. Look, on current numbers, he should be able to finish P6. So long as he lifts and coasts as much as he can. Just stick behind Nanda. Doesn't necessarily have to battle him for position. It's all about survival now. If he can get it back to the good, if he can get it back to positive numbers. No, he's pushing. He is pushing. Never mind me. He's not surviving, he's pushing. If he can make that work, then so be it. Going to take some considerable effort, though. Speaking of effort, Rebel closing in on Axis. 1 second separates these two as Nico gets by JBH. Captain moves through as well. So JBH down to 12th. Gap sits at 6 tenths now. Rebel will be able to set up a pass at the beginning of next lap. And then he has 2 laps to try and catch up to the race leader. Easier said than done. Big lifting there from Rebel. He doesn't want to pass Axis yet. But in doing so, they're losing time collectively to the race leader. It's increased to 3.7 seconds. Alright. Now it's up to 4 seconds now. So this is a scenario. Rebel has to catch up by 2 seconds a lap to try and battle for the race win. I feel like that's just too big of a margin to try and claw back. The only thing I think preventing Saucy from winning this race is if fate gets in the way. If he gets an unlucky puncture, which is entirely possible with the ridiculous tyre wear around this circuit. His tyres are inflated, they're running, they're good. But will they stay like that? 3.1 seconds the gap. Oh! Walkman. KD going slowly. Oh! Passed by Nanda. KD running awfully right. Running off the racetrack. Not terribly sure what's happening to him. Or he might be encountering the same problem as Mick, I'm not sure. He is driving slowly at the moment. Very slowly. This is very similar to how Mick was driving. Oh my word! The race leader's thrown it away! He's given himself a penalty. Hang on, he's going incredibly slowly. He's coming in. He doesn't have a puncture or anything. Does he? No, those tires look inflated. That's it. The race at the front is over. Saucy flying off the circuit. He'll pit for a set of softs. Hope for the best. Can you believe it? On the penultimate lap. 3-second time penalties. Completely blown it for the Red Bull driver. Race win. Disappearing just like that. Well, this should be a fairly straightforward cruise then for our race leader. Just needs to keep the car on the black stuff. Try and not get a time penalty. Try and not throw the race away. He won't do that. Heading up towards the final sector. Been a fine drive from Rebel. Well put together race. He'd be incredibly happy with how this has turned out. Looked good. He's kept it relatively mistake-free. We've got yellows out in the middle sector. Drivers going slowly. Well, Rebel will come out of the final corner and head down the main straightaway. It's been a long wait, but he returns to victory lane. He wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Axis will come home in P2. He will extend his championship lead as Blockman, running out of fuel, crosses the line. He finishes third, and Alpine 1-3. And a full Saucy fifth at the line. Could have been a win. Something gave in on the penultimate lap. His tyres looked okay. As Nico and Captain jump up to P6 and 7. Double points for Williams. Tom 8th. Spazquatch 9th. KD will finish in the top 10. And it will be Captain Schmeg dawdling to the line as he's run out of fuel. Drop down the order down to P13. Black Baller will cross the line in 14th. Flavius, our final finisher, in 15th. Nico, given driver of the day, will see his performance in the final results screen. But for now, it's time for the podium celebrations. Been a while. Rebel returns to the top spot with victory here at Qatar. Axis home in P2, extending his championship lead over Blockman, who finishes third. The unofficial results then of the Qatar Grand Prix. Rebel is our race winner by a decent margin as well over Axis thanks to the time penalties. A margin of 9.1 seconds. Blockman home in third with fastest lap. Nanda in fourth, followed by Saucy in fifth. What could have been for Saucy. Fine performance, but yeah, threw it away on the penultimate lap. Nico home in 6th, followed by Captain 7, Tom 8th, followed by Spaz Squatch and KD, rounding out the top 10. And we have JBH, Smokey, Captain Schmeg, Black Baller and Flavius, final point scorers. Little Mick, our only retirement. I ducked in the Discord, I haven't seen him talk about it, so not terribly sure why Nick had that retirement. There we are. So you did get a puncture. It didn't look like it on my screen. Seemed that your tyres were all inflated. But if you did, then that's a shame. But that's sort of how this track works as well with Qatar. Ridiculous levels of tyre wear. I'm sure a lot of people are quite glad this week is over with Qatar and its silly tyre wear. Go back to our regular stuff later on. Yeah, it seems that both KD and Saucy got punctures. It really didn't look like it from my POV. Their tyres looked all inflated. Typically, when they puncture, it's quite easy to spot, but I couldn't spot it. The tyres look good. There you go. That's a bit frustrating for me. And the game isn't showing me the necessary information. But anyway, what do you expect? It's made by Codemasters. It's what they do. Make faulty games and sell them for $100 a year. Anyway, folks, I think with everything said and done, it's now time for us to wrap up the stream. Congratulations to our top 3. Congratulations to Rebel on his first win of the season. Yeah, an interesting little race at Qatar. Time to wrap everything up though. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching. We'll see you next week for round 9 of the championship at Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix. That actually should be quite a lot of fun to watch. Until then, it's goodbye.